Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. Make sure to hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons. Well, this is very disturbing. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is something that the particular news story we're going to talk about is several months old, but I just saw it for the first time a couple of weeks ago when I looked into it. So I figured maybe many of you haven't seen this story also, and I think that it's important to bring up because it is a sign of our times, the times in which we live, and it shows the importance of taking advantage of every moment we have left here on earth to spread the love and hope of Jesus Christ. So what am I talking about that is so disturbing? It's this tweet I ran across on Wall Street Silver. It says, medically assisted suicide is now a solution to poverty in Canada. Doctors are approving assisted suicide for people worried about becoming homeless. And I'm going to play this short video clip for you that'll explain what this tweet was about. I'm going to mute my mic so there's not feedback. Hopefully there's not a problem, and then we will discuss.
Amir Farsood has applied for medically assisted dying, known as MAID. He lives in constant agony due to a back injury, but has started the process for end of life because his rooming house is up for sale and he can't find anywhere else to live that he can afford. He barely survives on Ontario disability support payments, which are just over $1,200 a month. He doesn't want to die, but being homeless is not an option.
I know in my present health condition I would survive it anyway.
Farsood meets the criteria for MAID, physical suffering due to disability that cannot be relieved. His doctor, who knows Farsood's real reason for MAID is his fear of being homeless, signed off on the application in August. Farsood needs a second to do the same. There's a 90-day waiting period. He believes he could potentially access MAID in about a month.
I don't wish to be dead, even with the pain, even with the meds. I still want to be here.
So guys, that's very disturbing, that this just reckless disregard, to think that a doctor signed off on that knowing that the reason he wanted to commit suicide was he felt that he didn't have enough money to pay his bills to survive, that he would become homeless. So homelessness to this doctor was, okay, I'll sign off on that. No attempt to get him help. Just, this is unbelievable. So I looked further into this and I ran across this article right here. This is from BBC. It's from in January of this year, and it says, "Who can die? Canada wrestles with euthanasia for the mentally ill." It says, as Canada prepares to expand its euthanasia law to include those with mental illness, some Canadians, including many of the country's doctors, question whether the country's assisted death program has already moved too far, too fast. Dr. Madeline Lee can recall the first patient she helped die. About 1 month after Canada first legalized euthanasia in 2016, she said, "I remember just how surreal it was." A psychiatrist at Toronto's Princess Margaret Hospital, she recalled checking on her patient that day, asking if she had the right music and the final meal, and if she was sure she wanted to go ahead. The patient, in her mid-60s and suffering from ovarian cancer, said she was. 5 minutes later, the woman was dead. "It was like stepping off a cliff, that first one," Dr. Lee said. "Then time passes and it normalizes." I want you to think about that for a moment. Then it normalizes. She has since overseen hundreds of medically assisted dying cases. Dr. Lee stressed repeatedly that a physician's personal opinions should not influence how they assess a patient for assisted death. But she has significant concerns about the expansion of Canada's euthanasia and assisted dying program beyond the terminally ill. She is not alone. Since 2016, Canada's Medical Assistance in Dying program, known by its acronym MAID, that's what they were talking about in the clip we just watched, has been available for adults with terminal illness. In 2021, the law was changed to include those with serious and chronic physical conditions, even if that condition was non-life-threatening. And a few months ago, we did a video on a commercial for a furniture store in Canada that was glorifying the planned suicide of a woman who had a chronic illness from childhood. She was in her 30s. She had managed to live a life up to that point, but for whatever reason, she decided that she was going to end her life, and they glorified it in this commercial. So if you remember that, that's part of what we're talking about here. It says, this year it is expected to change again to include some Canadians with mental illness. That planned expansion has ignited controversy over the assisted death program as a whole and raised concerns that it may be too easy for the vulnerable to die in Canada. Those fears have been stoked by a recent string of reports suggesting that for some, death has been used as a stopgap for a broken social safety net. And it certainly has, because as you read down further in this story, you find out the first year they legalized this, which was just 2016, they had 1,000 people who died based on this medically assisted suicide program. Each year since, that has increased. In the most recent year, it was over 10,000. So clearly, this is ramping up and expanding. It says, making death too ready a solution disadvantages the most vulnerable people and actually lets society off the hook, Dr. Lee said. I don't think death should be society's solution for its own failures. So, guys, we've seen this before. We've seen this movie played before. Now, some may think that I'm exaggerating, but bear with me because we're going to walk through it. I'm not exaggerating. Let's look at where we've seen this before. This is from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. It's titled The Murder of People with Disabilities. The Nazis saw people with disabilities as an obstacle in their attempts to create an idealized German race. In 1939, the Nazi regime began a systematic program to murder them. And some people would say, well, that's outrageous to even compare these things. But you got to keep in mind, they didn't just start with that. They started by saying, well, these people should go over here. And, well, these people, they're a drain on the resources of the state. Why should someone who's institutionalized be eating food and taking energy away from productive members of society? And let's read through a little bit of what this says. It says, many Germans did not want to be reminded of individuals who did not measure up to their concept of a master race and were considered unfit or handicapped. People with physical and mental disabilities were viewed as useless to society, or could we say a drain on society? Hey, how do we take care of this homeless problem? Maybe you need to consider suicide. That's what they're saying in Canada. Are you mentally ill? Are you depressed? Just end it all, right? That's what they're saying. And I want to read this sentence right here because I think this helps frame exactly what we're talking about. It says the euthanasia program required the cooperation of many German doctors who reviewed the medical files of patients and institutions to determine which individuals with disabilities should be killed. Now, people read that and they say, oh, that's outrageous. I can't believe they did that. But let's take that same sentence and just change a few words. In fact, we'll change this should right here to could. And then we'll change a couple other words. We'll say instead of the euthanasia program, let's say the medically assisted suicide program required the cooperation of many Canadian doctors who reviewed the medical files of patients and institutions to determine which individuals with disabilities could be killed. Right? That's happening right now in Canada. So in the case of Amir Farsood, he had one doctor already sign off on this when they aired that clip we just watched. So we're having the same thing happening. They're not saying he should be killed, but they're saying, yes, he meets our criteria that he can be killed. And how far of a stretch is it from could be killed to should be killed? When we're reading a sentence, it's just the difference between a couple of letters on a page, and it's not that big of a leap, because I'm sure when this law was passed, they said, oh, this is only for people who are in their last hours of agony, dying a terrible death, and don't you have mercy and empathy and sympathy for these people? And that's how they pushed the law through. And then they said, well, maybe we'll expand the definition of terminally ill, and maybe we'll add chronic illness, and we'll add chronic pain, depression, and it just keeps expanding and expanding. Homelessness. Basically anybody that wants to sign up. Guys, it's not far away from when they say have doctors signing off on who should be killed. And I know you think this is outrageous, but we're going to get to in a minute of why it is not and who is really behind all of this, because there's someone behind this with an agenda. So I wanted to find out what happened to Amir, because what the clip we just watched was from back in the autumn of 2022. So you'll be happy to know, based on this Ontario City News, it says Ontario man not considering medically assisted death anymore after outpouring of support. So that's great news. But I want you to think about, he was ready to die in the clip we just watched. Now he's not. Let's read why. It says Amir Farsood didn't want to die, but after fears he would lose his housing, he had applied for medically assisted death as an alternative to being homeless. But just over a month after City News first shared his story, Farsood said the outpouring of support will allow him to live with a roof over his head. I'm a different person, said Farsood. The first time we spoke, I had nothing but darkness, misery, stress, and hopelessness. Remember that, guys. He says, now I have all the opposite of those things. The 54-year-old St. Catherine's man said he is eternally grateful for those who donated to the GoFundMe started by a woman named Effie, a stranger to Farsood, after she saw his story. Farsood currently lives with never-ending back pain that allows him to qualify for MAID. He already had one doctor sign off and was waiting for the allotted 90 days before having a second doctor approve his application when his story was shared. I honestly thought by December I wouldn't be here, so no, I certainly did not envision this by any stretch of the imagination, said Farsood. So I want you to think about that. Here we had a man who was in darkness. He was hopeless and ready to die, and the state was signing off this doctor, which I don't know how they can take that title doctor, because doctors, I thought, were supposed to be helping people. And instead, this doctor said, yep, I'll sign this. Go ahead and die. In 90 days, somebody else will sign this, and you'll be dead, and you'll be out of the way. You won't be a burden on us anymore. Yet someone came along who saw this. So fortunately, if he hadn't have been in this news story, on this news clip, he would be dead now. He would be gone, because it's only through this news clip that there was this outpouring of support. and someone named Effie set up this GoFundMe page, I would say very much like the Good Samaritan walking along, and said, no, your life has value, Amir. We will help you. We will give you hope. And so he went from a place of darkness and hopelessness, of stress and anxiety, to a complete turnaround in how he felt because he was given hope. Guys, he was given hope. Remember that, because we need to be spreading hope, the hope of the Lord Jesus Christ, to as many people as possible, to our neighbors. And who is our neighbor? Well, Amir is our neighbor. And there are many more people just like Amir. So why is this being pushed in Canada, and who is behind this? I believe I have the answer, and it comes from Jesus himself. Let's read John chapter 10, verses 7 through 10. This is Jesus speaking, and he says, I tell you the truth, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me were thieves and robbers, but the true sheep did not listen to them. Yes, I am the gate. Those who come in through me will be saved. They will come and go freely and will find good pastures. The thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. So do you get the key? The thief, his purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. Let's see what else Jesus says. This is from John chapter 8, verse 44. He says, for you are the children of your father, the devil. You love to do the evil things he does. He was a murderer from the beginning. He has always hated the truth because there is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Guys, Satan wanders around like a lion looking for who he can devour. He is a destroyer. That is his character. He wants to kill and destroy and murder. And what they're doing in Canada right now is nothing less than the systematic, institutionalized murder of people. And I know a lot of people would push back on that and say, you're over the top, Britt, because these people, they're choosing of their own free will to do this. But remember, we just talked in a video last week about all this data they can gather on us and the nudge units that governments set up and how easily they can manipulate you and nudge you into taking the action they want you to take and make you think that it was your own choice, that it was your own free will. When we're talking about people who are in a state of depression, that's a temporary state. These are temporary states we're talking about where someone's having trouble paying their bills, they're feeling bad, they're feeling stressed, they're feeling anxiety, they're feeling hopelessness. Those are temporary things. We shouldn't be saying, yes, you can solve all that now by just simply killing yourself. To push someone who's feeling that way, who's basically standing at the cliff's edge looking over, and you walk behind them and push them over, that is murder. And if you're going to say, Britt, you're over the top, I can't believe you're saying that, let's look at the definition of murder, because murder, words mean things, and murder has a definition. And here we pulled this up online. This is the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, and here it has murder. It says, the killing of another person without justification or excuse. And I would argue there's no justification for what that doctor signed off for when the doctor wanted to kill Amir. It says, especially the crime of killing a person with malice aforethought, or with recklessness manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. And here in Canada, and I would say all around the world, we see this recklessness manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. Human life has been devalued. People are seen as trash. They're seen as disposable. They're seen as objects. A baby is not a baby. A man is not a man if he can't afford to pay his bills or he has a bout of depression temporarily, then just get rid of yourself. To do that, that is murder. And I know a lot of people would be compelled to say, let's go change the laws. Let's go vote against these politicians that are putting these laws into place. And I'm not discouraging you from doing that. You should definitely participate in the political process. You should vote. You should fight for righteousness. But I want you to remember who we're fighting, and it's not the politicians. The person behind this is Satan. Remember, this is from Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. It says, "For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places." So it's these unseen evil rulers and authorities, demons, Satan and his demons, that are causing this, that are behind this agenda to systematically kill people, to legalize and institutionalize murder in Canada and really all over the world. And so how do you fight that? People may look at that and they may say, wow, I'm intimidated by that. How do we overcome this? And I've got good news. You don't have to overturn these laws. You don't have to take down these politicians. It would be great to vote them out of office and change the laws. That's great. But look at what this unknown person, Effie, did, the life they changed by bringing hope into the picture. That is how you fight back against these evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, guys. It's through, I want to read John chapter 8, verse 12. It says, Jesus spoke to the people once more and said, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness, because you will have the light that leads to life. It is our job to take the light of Jesus to the people of the world. Find the emirs of the world. They're your neighbors. They're the people around you. Find those people who are suffering in darkness, hopelessness, anxiety, stress, and bring them hope. In this case, sounds like he got hope from a GoFundMe page and through all the support of these different people that said, you matter. I don't know if he knows Jesus or not as a result of this, but hope. We start with hope, even if it's in a GoFundMe page, but we need to be bringing the good news, the gospel, to as many people as possible. I'm going to read this quote from C.S. Lewis. He says, don't shine so that others can see you. Shine so that through you, others can see him. Guys, that's how we should be spending our time. Whatever time we have left here on earth, we need to be spreading the love and hope of Jesus Christ, because, guys, that will change and transform and save lives. And no authority, whether seen or unseen, can overcome the love and hope of Jesus Christ. So, guys, that is good news in and of itself. We should be bold. We should be going forward. I'm not saying you have to go out door to door and be proselytizing to people. Bring them hope. If you've got a neighbor that's a shut-in, go take them some food. Just go meet the people around you and bring hope, bring life, bring joy to them. And if you have an opportunity to share that gospel, pray that God gives you the opportunity to share Jesus Christ with each of those people. But we need to be going out, because otherwise Satan wants to take people who are despondent and hopeless and tell them there's a way out, and that way out is to destroy yourself. It's to commit suicide. And the state and all of these godless politicians, they revel in delight at how many people can we kill? How many babies can we kill? How many people will commit suicide? How many people will be on drugs and have an overdose? They, for whatever reason, they love that because they are guided by these unseen forces, and it's in their nature to kill and murder and destroy. That's what Satan does. So we need to counter that with the light and the love of Jesus Christ. So guys, make sure that you're doing that. Leave your comments below. Make sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons when you do that. More and more people see this and they hear about the hope and love of Jesus Christ. Now, what is that hope? Maybe you're watching this and you don't know Jesus. You don't have that hope. Well, the hope is this, is we all started in darkness, hopelessness, because we are all sinners. We are all born sinners. That means we've fallen short of God's perfect standard. And the Bible says the wages of sin is death, meaning because of our sin, we are condemned by God to eternal separation from him because he is holy and he can't be in the presence of that sin. So we have to be pushed away into outer darkness, into hell. That is our destination. So that's very bad news. But the flip side of that is there is good news. The good news is that Jesus Christ came to earth. He is God in the flesh. God became a man. He became Jesus of Nazareth. He lived a perfect, sinless life. And then he sacrificed himself. He gave his life on the cross, spilled his blood as forgiveness for our sins, so that we could be reconciled with God. When God looks at us, he sees his perfect son, Jesus Christ. We are reconciled with him, and that means we spend eternity. Our destination is now eternity in heaven with the Lord our God, but you have to accept that. If our God, he's a loving God, and he's given us free will, and you can reject that. You can say, no, that's too exclusive to say that Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. He's the only way to the Father. I reject that, and God will let you do that. But you don't want to do that, guys. The only way to life is through Jesus Christ. So that is the good news. The good news is that we have a way. God has provided a way. He has given us a Savior, Jesus Christ. So spread that good news. If you're just hearing that good news for the first time, invite Jesus into your life, into your heart. I know he will change your life. And then, guys, go out and change the lives of those people around you. Give the hopeless new hope for life, just as Effie and all of the other people who poured out to Amir and told him, Amir, we love you. Your life matters. They changed his life. He's alive today, guys, because they did that. We need to be doing the same thing. That's how we fight back against these demons, guys. So again, leave your comments. Make sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And God willing, I will see you on Wednesday. Bye. If you want to learn more about the end times and Bible prophecy, make sure to sign up for my free monthly newsletter and get your copy of my free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. Just follow the link in the description to get your free book. Also, make sure to check out all of my books. Just look up Britt on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, Google Books, Kobo, or anywhere books are sold. Thanks for watching today, and until next time, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith.